Hey everyone, in this video I just want to talk about editorial travel images and what I think can really make an editorial travel image sell well. And the first thing I just want to mention is just as far as it goes with editorial, it's a little bit confusing I think for some people that are newer to stock. And the traditional kind of view of editorial is newsworthy or anything that's kind of would be published in a news or a sort of a information-based publication. But when we talk about Microstock, very often what we're actually talking about are those kinds of images that they contain features or aspects of them which are controlled by someone else that prevents you from being able to grant a commercial license. So sometimes they'll have images or aspects that are copyrighted by someone else, or there might be trademark images within the frame, and there might also be identifiable people who, based on current laws, are sort of put in a position where they control the sort of commercialization of their own image. And so when those elements are included in a photograph, we as photographers are often not able to provide an editorial license to them. So I'm not necessarily talking about anything newsworthy here. I'm talking about images that are taken of a place during the pursuit of travel, which you can't commercially license due to elements within those photographs. So quite often, at least when I started, what I did with editorial images is, what they really were a byproduct of my inability to get a commercial image. So maybe I was trying to shoot a place, maybe there's an element in there that I wasn't able to sort of take out in post, or the building itself, I just couldn't get past the inspectors on a commercial basis, or it included people. But my intention was not to go out and photograph editorial. It was just sort of a byproduct of an inability to actually get a commercial image. And so those images, I think, lacked intentionality. They were images of a place that didn't really fit, at least from the mindset of the photographer taking them, didn't really fit very well into commercial and didn't really fit very well into editorial. But because of what was included, they got steered into editorial. So I'll just give you a few examples of a couple of shots that sort of represent what I'm talking about. There are pictures here. I'm going to show you two pictures of some canal buildings in Amsterdam at night. I think they're nice shots. I think they represent Amsterdam, but they're not images that really sell. Both of these shots have some elements that are included, like store names on storefronts, etc., like trademarked items potentially, although they're probably actually not. But even the buildings themselves, I find sort of more conservative inspectors or reviewers on the sites were just sort of rejecting these as commercial and sort of steering me into an editorial framework. And whether they're nice images, these weren't taken with the intent to be editorial, and so they don't really work very well with editorial, even though I kind of like them as photographs. So the approach that I take for editorial now when I'm traveling is I really try to take images that are 100% meant for editorial. I try to embrace the fact that there's going to be people in them, that there's going to be logos and signage and other things in these images that I can't release. And I'll just show you a couple of more shots right now of Amsterdam that I took on the same trip that actually do sell. And these are pictures that actually are, in my view, shots that embrace that intentionality, that are going straight at the heart of editorial. This first one is taken at the Rijksmuseum. And it's basically, I'm trying to show the busyness of the city, outside the museum, You've got the sidewalks, people taking pictures of each other on the sidewalks. You got the bike taxis. You have the bikers in the middle going up that center lane there to the museum. The banner on the top of the museum. It's just it really speaks about being in Amsterdam. It's telling the story of being there. And I'm not trying to leave anything out. I'm not trying to hide logos or people's faces. I'm embracing that. The second shot here is of a cafe in the a little bit outside the downtown, sort of on the west. I think it was the west side. I can't remember what it's called now. It's been long enough since I've been there. But I was taking. I wanted a canal shot where the cafe was full of people. It's evening. It's already dark. The lights are on, and people are out enjoying a meal on the street, and that's what I'm going for. Both of those images really sold or continue to sell well. Not that the other ones don't sell, but they're just not the same. They don't have that same storytelling, that same intentionality aspect to them that sort of makes travel editorial image. Okay, so now I'm going to sort of jump away from Amsterdam. And I have a couple of sets of shots that are going to work really well for this illustration, is because I took shots of the location with people milling about to a certain extent and some without. But they were just shots of the place. They weren't intended to be shots of people in the place or, that editorial style that really sells. So, and then I took another shot of pretty much the exact same subject, but with something else included. And it's going to be really obvious which ones sell and which don't. But it just goes to show, these examples just go to show that you should really just embrace the editorial image. And they do sell if you do it and you take that approach. So the first shots that I'm going to show you are a few images of the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. Now I took this shot facing down close from the castle. The Scotch Whisky Exchange or Experience is just on the side. It's all lit up in the pink, and then you can see down the mile. One shot, there's a few people milling about. And it's great, whatever. It's a nice photo as far as I'm concerned, but it's not anything that necessarily embraces a subject or tells a story. But this image here, this is a leader of a ghost tour walking through Edinburgh, and he's got a big group of people behind him, and he's dressed up as a vampire. And it's really cool, this shot, because if you've ever been to Edinburgh, you'll know about all the sort of spooky, kind of haunted ghost tours that head out every evening in the old town of Edinburgh, and that's really part of the interest of the city, and tourists love that. And so this shot has really done very well for me, and it embraces the storytelling. I'm all in on the people being in the image. I'm all in on the Whiskey Exchange being there and the Royal Mile and everything about it. So the two images really show how taking the time to wait for a story to unfold can really help your editorial travel images. Okay, this next set of images, this basically the last sort of block of images that I took that I want to show you, because I'm trying not to get too long on this, but these are surfboards in Waikiki. And so it's a rental shop. It's kind of it's a rental business. They rent surfboards out, and so there's constantly tourists coming up. They're looking at the surfboards or renting them and taking them out for the day. And I took a shot of the surfboards just by themselves with the ocean in the distance. You can see a few people on the side there or behind the boards, but they're not really part of the image. And then it's all kind of like little specks out on the waves, and so it's really just the surfboards and sort of the palm trees and the beach here on this shot. Then I'm going to show you two shots here. This first one, on the far right, it's actually a pano. I've showed you this before, but it has a girl. She's contemplating the surfboards, trying to decide which one she's going to get. There's a little bit of anticipation there, I think, and maybe some excitement. And then this third shot, this shows like these three girls, they're friends, I guess, and they're there now. They're pulling their surfboards out, the ones they've chosen for the day. And these two images, the last two with the people in them, they tell the story of visiting Waikiki. They tell the story of pulling the surfboard out and getting ready to hit the waves. And yeah, I didn't have model releases, and I certainly wasn't going to ask, but you know, I don't think I needed to. I think it's fine. Yeah, it would have been a better image with model releases all around, but as an editorial, in a situation where you know you're never going to get releases, I find that this image works way, way better than the image where there are no people, where that story doesn't get told. And so for me, it's all about taking an approach to a travel editorial where you're intending to go all in on the shot. You want people in it. You want the logos on the signs. You want the banners that's you know, yell Amsterdam, or the banners that yell Waikiki, and the people and the you know, the visitors and the locals, whoever, right, interacting in that scene. You got to keep the story tight, and you got to make sure that it tells the story. But if you can embrace that, I think your editorial images will see a much bigger scope for a potential market of buyers. And it certainly worked for me, and that's really the approach that I take when I'm thinking about doing editorial travel photos. Now, I do take the ones without the people, but I get there, I line it up, I get my shot, and then I hope and I wait for someone to come in and make that story come to life. So yeah, hopefully this helps you think about your travel images, at least from an editorial perspective, and yeah, it gives you ideas on taking images that have impact, that tell a story, and you know, that express the intentionality of the scene, and yeah, just speak to buyers, because that's what we all want. Hope you thought this was worth your time, and if it did, hopefully I've earned your subscription on from this one, and we'll see you on the next. Cheers.